Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology, and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. A friend of mine was talking to me about comments that appear in social media feeds and sent me this clip that I shared with you before, Steve, before we got on, about this guy that was essentially saying that he, was about to respond to a comment he'd received on his feed, and then he realised that it seemed a little chatbot-y by nature, and he actually had read about and did this himself, saying he sent an instruction back essentially in the form of a comment back to the chatbot, and then it actually responded back as a chatbot with a response which exposed the fact that it was a chatbot generated message on his feed. Obviously, I love the amusement factor by it. I was just laughing my head off all the way through it. It's like trying to combine Biden with tangerines or something, and I thought that was pretty funny. The thing that really gets to me about this particular thing is that obviously it's not surprising, and you can imagine that it wouldn't have shown up before or whatever, but you think about how many comments are flying around in social media, how much so many people are invested in what is actually being seen on social media, engaging with social media, etc., etc. And I know we had like a long discussion before we got on about this sort of thing in relation to what's going on with Biden. We'll come to that sort of towards the end of the episode, but it makes me even more want to not be on social media because if there's like I've sort of gave it up years ago on a personal front. Obviously we post our episodes to I only do it to Facebook now, and obviously we upload to YouTube and stuff like that, but that's more to get the show out. As far as any sort of personal engagement, why would anyone in their right mind with this sort of stuff going on even want to engage in any of this stuff?
Well, look, you're right, Ben. I mean, chatbots have been created to engage people, to spread, I guess you'd call it, social information. I don't know, posts, whatever, and broaden the engagement. And those chatbots will target groups that they think they can bring into the conversation, if you want to call it that. So yes, it's chatbots are out there, and of course, the humans who know how chatbots work and want to increase engagement also know or can work out ways to leverage the chatbot's basic function. And I think this is a humorous way of doing it and showing up a chatbot, but it also makes you think that really probably a lot of the information that you're getting and the way it's presented and the way it's targeted at you has a completely different purpose.
Absolutely, but I guess the other aspect to this is just how much people are getting sucked into it, but not just that. It's also these chatbots are only going to get better at it as AI is introduced into it, to the point where you're not going to be able to tell. Which I actually think is really dangerous going forward, because I don't know what that's going to do to how people are going to behave as a result of it.
Well, I totally agree, because once upon a time, pre-chatbots, it would be your network, and it'd be probably the loudest person in your network that would spread these things. People now include chatbots in their networks without even knowing, if it's a comment, if it's even talking to a chatbot, which you can't tell is a chatbot, and you move it through that network. And if you have influence or people follow you, then the chatbots pick that up and spread it even further. So there's a benefit in some regards, I guess, but there's huge dangers that come with it as well, because that flow of information, as everyone knows, the echo chamber's old now, but the chatbots are helping to yell into those echo chambers even louder than it was in the past.
I guess maybe an amusing endpoint might be that it's just chatbots commenting to each other in the end. Like, that's all that's on the actual social media channels.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know, the rest of us might have been consumed by an apocalypse of some sort. That would be quite funny.
Well, it'd be funny if chatbots were the apocalypse for social media, in that they become the most influential, the loudest voices, and they suck up all basically the transmission of communication, thereby making humans irrelevant, and really just a place for other chatbots to get information from chatbots.
Absolutely, absolutely. A twist on the Skynet tale. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Something a bit more intellectually engaging, perhaps. This story from Science Alert, that they finally know what turned on the lights at the dawn of time, which were these small dwarf galaxies that flared to life, that cleared the fog of murky hydrogen that filled intergalactic space. And I guess, sort of singing the praises of like Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescope. I think this is like I know we circle back to it fairly regularly, that this is the type of thing that is going to expand our understanding of the universe, etc. We have this more high precision tool now that can give us an insight into information that we otherwise might not have been able to discover, and it leads to not necessarily a complete revamping of what we knew, but a re-envisaging through a different lens, for lack of a better term, like the understanding of how the universe came together, etc. Again, just reading this story, and it's obviously a reminder that the idea of the universe being, so tiny at one point, and then for actually hundreds and thousands of years, it was actually like super hot, and, it took a while before, a while is putting it mildly, to get to where we are now. I just find that really fascinating every time you hear it. It puts, if you can contrast it with our little chatbot discussion earlier, this actually does have a bit more substance and gives you a bit more understanding of our place in the universe, chatbot or otherwise.
Absolutely. And it's nice to have a story like this. Firstly, how amazing is the James Webb Telescope? Just the fact that it can see these things is unbelievable. And the fact that the universe, yes, formed in a fraction of a second, and then, for a billion years, we don't know. We don't know what happened. We don't know what brought light to the universe. We don't know what actually started the galaxies, the stars, and to be able to see back into time and start to understand, the essence of our galaxy is just, it's amazing. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, just understanding our place a little bit better, and having the tools to be able to see back in time and see where we've come from is really, it's exciting, and it certainly is, I think, uplifting for us as humans to think about these sorts of things for a change, rather than what a chatbot might tell us.
Absolutely. Now, sadly, we're going to have to return to that particular topic now, although it's probably more of a sequel to our discussion from last week about Biden's performance in the debate, and obviously this chatter has just not died down. He had this big press conference where he was actually up there for an hour taking questions and doing the things that apparently he should be doing to quell all of the disquiet that was generated out of his performance from the debate. And yet it's still, they're like rabid social media dogs looking for blood, because it doesn't fit the narrative if he can actually speak coherently, even if he makes gaffes, and he can talk to the, like the subject matter in great detail, which he did. And look, I know we spoke about this before we got on. It's just, I just feel like the way this story is unfolding is kind of idiotic, and it's not a question of like how these types of questions might have been raised in previous election cycles, where the candidate's viability is questioned, etc. It seems that the way it's being done is designed to generate never-ending media cycles about this particular topic, and if, and again, I come back to this idea that if it was anyone other than Trump he was going up against, I'd say maybe that he would probably be done. Like there'd probably be some, mea culpa type scenario where he gets up in front of the cameras and says, for the good of the nation, I'm going to be stepping down and letting the next generation take over or whatever. And you could foresee that because he wouldn't have had any choice, because he would have been running against a candidate that is, say, maybe more traditional in terms of a politician. But because it's against Trump, why not him compared to anyone else that they've got in the lineup, considering how things have been going? And I don't know. I honestly don't know where any of this is going. I don't know what the outcome is going to be for this, because I don't see this as how you would tell in a political cycle when when say an incumbent's going to be kicked out, or when an opposition leader just isn't cutting it and is just not going to win. But that was driven by more organic processes, that were within the electorate, etc. This, to me, just seems like a social media storm that is being, with the media networks jumping all over it because they have to fill airtime and get eyeballs. And I'm not seeing where the authentic underlying story is in any of it at the moment.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more, Ben. I mean, it's a chatbot heaven, it's a social media heaven, it's a meme heaven. It's great, just keep passing it around, the same stuff. I watched the NATO summit there because I wanted to see it with my own eyes, and he made 2 gaffes, and probably because he's under pressure, maybe even because he is 81 years old, but he was pretty good for the rest of it. And it's just, this is how social media works. One bit of evidence, another bit of evidence, and effectively, I was going to say a narrative, but it's not even a narrative. It is just a meme. And put it together, and I want to believe that at 81 he's too old, and that's the story, and here's my evidence. And it's like, oh, it's very harsh. It's I certainly... Well, all I've seen is 5 Democrats and 1 actor come out and suggest it's time. I thought he was pretty good, and if we could hear something besides he's too old and he's got to go, if we could hear a story besides that, I think you'd actually find that he's doing pretty well. And to be fair to him, he must be pretty tough at 81 to be withstanding this sort of pressure. So gaffes, they're made all the time. He's made plenty of them along the way, but all we see is this single story. And, it's compelling because there's visual evidence, which always rates highly in the human mind. And there's a little bit of other fact, which you just link up, and that's all you need to slay him. So he's doing very well to stand up to this. I don't know. I could hack this pressure.
Yeah, I know. It makes you wonder why anyone would become a politician in this type of era, anyway. And I guess that's the sad thing. It's it's the substance underlying all of it. What that you can't just see. And like I said, I'll return to what I said before. I don't see where this is going, because it could ultimately be that this whole thing, ends up, causing a blow up moment a little bit later down the track. And I just think that the political cycle is not necessarily reflective of what actually might end up happening. And I say that because I've seen a pattern with this sort of thing with previous elections. Not like Australia's actually a good one. The last 2 big ones that I've seen were I think fell victim to that, where the media were trying to generate a narrative for an outcome, and then they were totally shocked when the result didn't go the way they thought it would. And I just wonder if something like that's going to happen here. They're getting a good run out of this story, or whatever, if you want to call it a story. And I don't know exactly what the result is. And I guess the other factor is, given what we were talking about with social media and chatbots and the impacts on human behavior, who the hell knows what the US public is going to do at vote, when they're in the voting box, trying to cast their vote, and whether any of this is impacting them.
Well, it's really, really interesting. I think personally it's the Democrats' election to lose. And if you were just to go on social media, you'd assume they're doing a great job of losing it. However, you might be right. Maybe there are rusted on anti-Trump people that are just going to come out. So it doesn't matter what the polls are. I mean, we don't even know if those polls that are saying Trump's increasing his lead are based on questions like, is Biden too old? You don't know. We don't know what impact this is having, and we don't know how much of this noise is just chatbots resending the same message out. So it's the only thing that's out there. This is unprecedented. To me, it's an extension of fake news. I don't know. It's certainly a false narrative, I think. And I wonder why nobody is making the point. Or will they wait until 2025 to say, oh, social media is evil and look what it did, assuming Biden doesn't win? If he wins, it'll be one of the most remarkable victories in all of political history anywhere. So, and principally because of all the negative talk about him in this situation. Not that may or may not actually have any basis in reality, as you point out.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, I might wrap it up there, and I'm going to stay off social media anyway. I know I do generally, but I might hold off posting some of the YouTube videos for a day or two, just so that I don't get infected or something by whatever gets thrown at us.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think the next week or two will be really interesting, and it'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure somebody's tracking it, how quickly this noise dies down or then ramps back up at the next gaffe.
Absolutely, something we can keep an eye on. for sure. All right, so that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you next time.